U.S. Naval Observatory because, no reason not to use the historic work of colleagues. And then when I did it without refraction by other methods, by not using angles, only using distances, I still got the same curvature.
How did we find out the values for celestial refraction?
It's been studied for centuries. So yeah, I use the U.S. Naval Observatory's formulary to estimate
I
that.
wonder how they got that. I wonder how they got like how much star refraction there is.
You sit at a place where you know where you are, like the observatory, and you watch stars set, and you know you figure out when they're supposed to set versus when they do set.
Yeah, the thousands of university observatories being studying it at the highest level of precision for decades upon decades.
You just have to jump onto Stellarium because they let you turn it on and off, and it's got to show it somewhere in the coding on like what they're doing in the math.
Well, yeah, and that's utilizing what has been learned at the telescopes that wrote Stellarium.
How did they figure that out? If it's always a constant amount of refraction, how would they ever know the star is not actually there?
Well, it's complicated, a little bit too complicated to just recite to your satisfaction. So yeah, it took, astronomers, long periods of time, large tables of data, large amounts of maths to model the atmospheric effects by vertical angle, over, hundreds and hundreds of stars repeated for long periods of time. It was an accumulation. And it goes way back. Like even Tycho Brahe had tables of celestial refraction before the invention of the telescope. He was beginning to get good estimates of it by observation. Yeah.
Well,
He's got to do the work. You got to do the work. Okay, let's just say that. You got to do the work.
Well, what work did they do? I mean,
you sit at a known place. You watch the stars set. You know when they're supposed to set. You calculate when they should set, and then you look for when they really do set.
And you're using telescopes with precision angular reporting.
No, I got that.
And precision astronomic regulator clocks. And you very carefully measure the delta of angle and the delta of time across the array.
I think she's trying to backtrack, like you said. You know when they're supposed to set, and then you see when they do.
Yep.
But the question is, how is that original know when it's supposed to set?
Okay, that was the job at the observatories of the astronomers, is to record those rise set times and table them and publish them. And for you, the citizen that wants to test it, you can test those times to see how well they come true for your observation and given the technical acuity of your equipment.
So really, it's just an average. Then they just watched it a bunch of times.
Okay,
they made an accumulative average and then agreed on that.
Well, if you want to summarize it like that, it does sound rather Carpenter-like.
Expansion wrong, formation of black holes wrong, dark energy wrong, dark matter wrong.
At that moon, you would see the heart shape, which is what they call the white whale structure, or the brass knuckles of Pluto. Was once called Cthulhu Macula, the destroyer. And if you look at the moon, and it has these couple of little dark spots on it, shaped like a butterfly. Which if you took each corner of a map and you stretched it out, that's what you would get. But fucking stop, dog. Oh, sorry. How am I going to explain that? I'm not good at explaining shit.
No, you seem like you were doing quite well there. I'm going to tag you something in the live stream text. Do you have access to that?
I don't know, man, but it was my dog that distracted me.
Okay, maybe I'll DM you. It's called Story in the Stars. It's pretty interesting.
Hell yeah. There's a map you can find on YouTube. It's pretty cool, man. It's the closest thing I can find that I've seen as a kid. Closest thing to it that I've seen when I died when I was 9. And to me, it looked like a bunch of frog eggs on a pond. But, I was a kid. And then when I saw this map on here, I was like, no shit. Makes sense. There's like little reverberation spots that create like they say, we got the ice walls. You get the ice wall map. Okay. If you look at it, it's a reverberation. If you look at the Eye of the Sahara, it's not Atlantis, nothing like that. It was a city back in the 1700s called Hadr, which Hadr, it was the blind archer that shot Loki. Now, it gets even more confusing whenever that's supposed to be Ireland, not fucking Egypt, right? Or West Africa. That Hadr, the only depiction they have of him, of like the carving of him, he looked like fucking Squanto, Native American. I don't know how much y'all trust in the information that's delivered to you to where you can tell somebody wrong. But if you can prove me wrong on that, I will try to find you and shake your hand. I love being proved wrong, man, because I love proving shit wrong. It's a mutual thing. But I'm saying this is Nibiru because if you look at the like 1930s planet sigils, there's 12 of them. 10 planets of a sun and a moon. But our solar system should only have 9 total, right? No. Ceres, Geras, and Cameo Yahweh, which was our original moon. But our solar system should only have 9 total, right? No. Ceres, Geras, and Cameo Yahweh, which was our original moon. Camo Yahweh is a Hawaiian word that means wandering oscillator or oscillating wanderer. Think about that for a second. Think about a time lapse of the seasonal constellations. Think about that for a few minutes, and then the 5-point star that Venus creates from Earth's viewpoint over 8-year elliptical orbit, the perfect symmetrical 5-point star circles, and then apply what I told you about the backside of that moon. I mean, I wrote many theses on the moon, man. Like it's a broken eggshell, and all you see is the front part of it. And as it's rotating, one side of it's shiny, the other one reflects light, one absorbs light. That's why you have a moon phase. It's rotating. It's always shined on. But this is one way I wrote it. That was like 6 years ago. Anyway, I'm sorry, man. I'm rambling. I'm not going in here and eat with
That
my
was
wife.
cool. Thank you. That was awesome to listen to.
Actually, I could post that. I got the screenshots for that shit. I can post it in the chat real quick before I go. If y'all want to check it out, it's just like a page and a half, 2 pages. Wherever I find this motherfucker, because it got like 30,000 pictures and they all. Moon rabbit, for the moon. Yeah. Moon is Iran. Oh, I got a bunch of moon theories, man. If you hear me calling them out.
Yeah, did you hear my moon theory earlier that I was mentioning? How water from the flood may have hit the hit the moon, leaving those circular spots.
Correct. Hey, I can be on board with that.
I'll send you a picture. I had AI.
Hell yeah! And if you look at West Africa, and it looks like the whole fucking shit just shifted into the sea right there. That could have been where it was hit from. If not, it was north of Asia. I mean, can't be many more fucking places to do it. Alright, I'm posting this not very long, and then I also posted just a screenshot that if you look up moon split of 1178 AD, when 5 anonymous witnesses watched the moon split in two and fall to Earth. And if we still have a moon, then this is before then.
Thank you. Where did you post it?
It's posting.
Oh, okay.
You got too many people watching me all the time, man. My shit. This sometimes it's hard to get anything to post.
Yeah.
All I can do is hope I'm doing something right. At least I'm trying, right?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure. Best I could do. If I could do more, I would.
Big respect.
Hell, I respect y'all. Hell, I don't. No way I had to give me a chance to actually show I wasn't as dumb as the way I sound when I talk. But intelligence is different than what this is. But it is a big part of it. Let me ask you, Mr. Host, dude, define intelligence for me. And then give me an example of it, of real intelligence, true intelligence.
Yeah, great question.
It's a good one. But if people that are judging me on my answers can't answer it themselves, that's my point. I will wait.
I don't know if you're familiar with Socrates. Supposedly back in the day when they went to the court.
Which Socrates? There's four.
Ooh.
I studied theology, I studied anthropology, I studied mythology, I studied philosophy, I studied sacred geometry, I studied numerology. I even made my own fucking omniglot gematria answer.
Love it.
Have you ever seen the Spirit Sciences geometry movie?
I have.
That was a good one, right?
The seventh one, right? The Flower of Life.
They went over a lot of Tree of Life, Flower of Life, Seed of Life,
Correct.
tons of stuff. Yeah, they went over tons of crazy geometry stuff that I've never even seen anywhere. I don't know where they got this shit from, but it was friggin' crazy, dude. Some of the shit they were laying down.
Socrates. There's four.
Ooh.
I studied theology, I studied anthropology, I studied mythology, I studied philosophy, I studied sacred geometry, I studied numerology. I even made my own fucking omniglot gematria answer.
Love it.
Have you ever seen the Spirit Sciences geometry movie?
I have.
That was a good one, right?
The seventh one, right? The Flower of Life.
They went over a lot of Tree of Life, Flower of Life, Seed of Life,
Correct.
tons of stuff. Yeah, they went over tons of crazy geometry stuff that I've never even seen anywhere. I don't know where they got this shit from, but it was friggin' crazy, dude. Some of the shit they were laying down. I was like, holy heck, man! The geometry and it
Hell
was
yeah!
nuts.
Like a 15-minute video. That's a good video. That's a good reference, man.
It was like an hour and some change. It was Spirit Sciences geometry movie or something. I forgot what the name of it is.
Yeah, they got like fucking 15. They got like 15, 20 some videos.
Oh, they got hundreds. They used those.
If you liked them, watch the one that's of the Flower of Life. That'll blow your mind, dude.
Did they do a whole video on it?
Yeah, they do. He talks about how the isosceles dodecahedron, the shape of it itself, if it was spoken outside the Plato's school of knowledge, they'd kill you on the spot.
Like they touched on the Flower of Life in this geometry movie they did, but I'm sure you could do a whole 8-hour movie on that or something alone. Yeah.
Man, I've been talking about it for years. Pretty sure there is an 8-hour fucking rant of me talking about this shit.
It's amazing. It is amazing just to even think about.
Okay, this is going to amaze you even more. Have you ever heard of Viktor Grabenikov? He was a Russian
Maybe in
etymologist.
passing. I don't know anything about him right now.
Oh, well, he was a Russian etymologist, and the theory is one day he was working with some type of scarabs out of Turkey or whatever, and when he dropped one on accident. It landed on top of the other one and stopped, and it floated there. I'm gonna grab 2 videos. I'm gonna grab the Spirit Silence one for you, homie. Actually, 3. The other one's gonna be real quick. It's Fibonacci on a piano, applied to a piano scale. It's pure beauty, man. And then that one. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Speaking of the piano, back in the day when slaves were, or there were spiritualists who were making music, they generally used the 5 black keys on the piano, what was known as the pentatonics.
Yo, I'm about to post this. I found the sacred geometry video. This shit is fire right here. Like, you got to chew up the meat and spit out the bones, but there's some good stuff in this.
Yes, thank you, Jeremy. I'm going to watch that for sure.
Dude, this is intense, bro. You're gonna have to watch this about 1,700 times.
Well, I believe it. When there's good information, I usually watch it over and over, just so it can sink in. I can absorb it.
I'm posting the 6th one, the Flower of Life, in there, and also the piano. And what was the first one I said I was gonna do? Something about the moon, I think. No, my memory sucks, man.
Uh, not the Russian guy.
Ah, yes, thank you. Viktor Gorbachev, man. I don't know why I'm horrible with names, but some names stick.
That last name does sound familiar, but yes.
Yeah, because it goes from his little floating platform to the Nazi bill in relation. And then
That last name does sound familiar, but yes.
yeah, because it goes from his little floating platform to the Nazi bill in relation. And then ask why they don't have bells anymore.
That's true.
Jing-a-ling-a-ling, jing-a-ling-a-ling. No, it hums my ding-a-ling. That's not a fucking. Who the I was just in one of you dudes from a different country. When I went to my library and went into it, it went into a different countries. I know it's a lot of shit because it gets crossed. A lot of times I won't say shit, but I figured I had to say something. Whoever did that, you have got some serious bugs to work out, brother. I'm used to it. I'm not mad. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna post this one. I'm gonna let y'all go, man. I'm about to go eat. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's beautiful here, guys. It is no longer cold. Are you guys kidding me? It's gorgeous. How many people are wearing shorts in March? It's so awesome. I forgot how much I love warm weather. It's like sincerely.
Hell, come down to Louisiana about 3 months. It gets about 126 in the summer.
And I'm actually from Louisiana, and I was down in Texas. Now it's about 5 years ago or so now. But I swear, Indiana is hot as hell compared to even Texas because of how humid it is, son. But
Right.
I get used to that.
Well, for them, it'd be hotter down here because they won't be able to breathe.
Right? Exactly.
For real, it's all about adaptations. And it takes time to adapt. But even as a child, you can adapt to it if you're raised in it.
Absolutely. Very, very true.
I was Ruben since I was 6 years old. I got adapted to that shit real fast. No.
At least with my
You only see two?
Yeah.
Which one's the actual? Which one's actually above the north though?
How much effort it takes just to get water to your house, so they come out there and bitch at you because it ain't working. Then blame you because you're white because it tore up even more. Have you ever heard of Victor Grabenkov?
Inner surface Earth. That's what's being observed.
By the Antares method, you're just looking at one brief instant in the time.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, you could like do a time lapse if you wanted, if one wanted to. But yeah, it is a freeze frame. But like in the way that a sundial, across the flat disk of the sundial, the shadow moves in a it has like an elliptical, but it has spherical geometry in terms of how it moves across the flat disk of the sundial. Because the sun is rising and setting, it's arcing, which is a part of a sphere in and of itself, and then just the whole way the sky is.
So you had me banned for most of the time when they were in Antarctica. What's the general take of the flat Earth for the final experiment? Are we just sort of ignoring it, or pretending it didn't happen, or just saying it's no big deal, or some combination thereof?
Dude, I didn't. What did you say about? What did you say?
The Antarctica, the TFE thing. Or what's the general response to the flat Earth? Are we ignoring it, pretending it didn't exist, just hand waving it away, or what?
That's a very loaded question. Who are you asking this to?
That's what I'm saying. Is there sort of different interpretations, or is there one interpretation, or what?
Are you asking, does every human on Earth agree with one thing? What are you asking?
Well, I guess I'm saying is, what is the general response to the people in this room?
I guess you'd have to ask whoever you're interested to ask.
So there's no general consensus opinion?
The fact that a few YouTubers took a vacation to Antarctica?
And saw the 24-hour sun and documented it pretty well?
Yeah, so who are you asking about it? I mean, people have different viewpoints on all kinds of things in life.
I just was wondering if there was like a general consensus opinion among the proponents of the flat Earth. What happened?
Yeah, some are trying to determine what the research shows. Some people, probably a small pocket, still believe it was staged. They seem to present evidence of them staging it. It's pretty interesting. I think you saw some of it, if I'm not mistaken, NASA. I think I posted one the other day and then remember it was with that one mention? That one Banjo, I think it was.
Yeah, well, Banjo is Banjo. The only other person I know that's going deep into this fake thing is Flatzoid.
Yeah, you're right. I think he's probably the one that's going on it, or trying to go deeper into it more than other flat earthers that I've seen. I think you're right. I'm just curious if any of the landers on the moon are going to be observing the Earth during the eclipse, because that would be pretty cool to see.
You know what? I don't know the answer to that. I know they generally have they release from the weather satellites because they can see pretty well. They see the whole distance, see a shadow move across it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's just there's a large spectrum of viewpoints. I mean, we were told the Earth's a globe, so when people start looking into the Earth not being a globe, that AE map is one of the first things that pops up on a Google search that you're going to find. So obviously that's been kind of right there, kind of foisted forward as sort of like the alternative kind of thing. So it depends on whether people took that and ran with it, or whether they were questioning of that as well. So in terms of the Antarctica.
Hello, friend.
Yo, what's up, Shepard?
Not much. I'm very, very sick and sore and tired. Or maybe better be that I'm sore. I'm sick and tired. I work
You'll be
17
back to
days
normal
straight.
before you know it, I'm sure.
I had Japanese water torture.
So yeah, what have you observed with it that you wanted to say, Paid? Like what's been your observation?
On which part here?
Well, you just asked that question, so I was just saying what's been your experience since you've been in it?
I think it was an interesting thing. I wish my wife would have let me. My wife said, no, you're spending $40,000 to go there. But it would have been interesting. I mean, they confirmed what's been known for about 120 years that there's 24-hour sun in Antarctica.
I mean,
Why do you think there never was a video of it until 2014 was the very first time ever? Why do you think it took that long for humanity to get a video of it? Do you think?
Because until around that time, you had to go there with film, and 24 hours of film in Antarctica would have been a pain in the ass.
Yeah, but they had digital cameras way before 2014. So
I don't think.
Why was that the first time-lapse footage?
Well, I don't think that anybody thought it was worthwhile. I mean, it was well known and well documented. I mean,
well documented would be like filming. How's it been documented?
Yeah, it's not well documented if there was no film of it or even good photos.
Well, we have the explorers who went there talking about how bright it was and how it stayed light all day.
the battery tech only got advanced enough in recent years to survive that cold weather.
Why do you need a battery? Why can't you just run a generator?
Like I said, I don't think this was high.
It's a weak argument.
I don't think it was high on the list of things to do. To tell you the truth.
Well, I mean, this part of what I'm discussing is not really about whether there is or isn't one there. It's more about why there was such limited access for so many years, and why it seems like it was such a. If it's such a just a basic obvious thing about the Earth, why would it be so elusive to get any footage of it in the history of humanity until 2014, like ever? And then even after that, there was very little footage of it for those first years, like 15, 16, 17. There was only more started popping up like from like kind of 2019, 20, and
Well, what kind of footage are you talking about? The half hour portion, or you think the 24-hour continuous footage?
I mean, any of either would have been yeah.
Well, there's plenty of short films, but for some reason, it's got to be the 24-hour uninterrupted on 35 millimeter film camera, 28 frames per second for 24 hours in Arctic conditions. Well, unless you want to fund that, it's not necessary for anybody.
Shoe Bill or anyone, does anyone have access to the very first photo of the 24-hour sun in Antarctica? Maybe National Geographic published one. Maybe there should be one official photo of a 24-hour sun.
Well, it's hard to imagine that's a photo. Yeah, it's hard to imagine that's a. Yeah, what do you mean by a photo of a 24-hour event?
Well, I'm sure the people on making the observation would have had a way to maybe try to capture it and then try to share that with the worldwide public.
That's just taking a picture of the sun, and everybody sees the sun. That doesn't prove a 24-hour sun.
No, I know. I'm just thinking.
In a particular way, you can take a photo of it in different positions around a well-known post in Antarctica.
Yeah,
I mean the 24-hour sun, below the Antarctic Circle was known long before we ever got to Antarctica.
I dispute that.
Is there it's just boring information for the globe? Like there's no beneficial outcomes from documenting it and studying it other than just one time? Is that like the mindset?
It was documented. I mean,
in 1922 when Shackleton, Scott and Amundsen went to the South Pole by different routes, got to the same point using the sun as their navigation, and they knew they were at the South Pole by noting the elevation of the sun remained constant for the day. So yeah, so did they have a video in 1922? No. Did they have film cameras in 1922? No, because they're not going to carry that on a sled. No, they had logbooks. Now apparently logbooks and accounts and an accomplishment by these two explorers to get to the exact same location from different routes by using the sun's navigation in 24-hour measuring of zenith angles. Why does it have to be filmed to be true?
Well, what about a photo? Where's the first official photo?
And that's the same
why does it have to be filmed to be true? Yeah,
that's the same thing that happened with Marco Polo's exploration to China and all that. All their writings in their journals of what they saw in China and what were considered fiction when they published them, and it wasn't for like a few hundred years until it went there and verified their observations. Was that then understood to be factual?
I don't think the sun remains at a constant elevation.
At the South Pole, it does. It does.
They went to the South Pole.
24-hour footage, it did not have the same elevation.
They were
in their tilted or whatever.
They were off 10 degrees. They were like 80 degrees south.
Yeah, but it was not the same elevation though. They're close enough to
at
where
Union Glacier. At Union Glacier, it was not, but at the South Pole, it is.
But in there, tilted.
Yes, including the tilt, because that means at the solstice, it goes to its maximum of 23.5 degrees, and then thereon, every day, it gets a little bit lower, and then night happens. And then it stays night for 6 months, and then as it comes back up the horizon, it stays parallel to the horizon, going around in a circle until it gets to its peak. But in any one day, it goes around this constant elevation. That's what Amundsen and Scott knew they had achieved the South Pole geographic location.
Yeah, but I think if the Earth was actually tilted, wouldn't it be a different elevation throughout the day? Or I don't know.
No, it's different elevation by season, but not in any one day. It doesn't change much.
Yeah.
Well, are you talking elevation angle or elevation? Like
elevation angle. The angle of the zenith distance, the angle from plumb.
Yeah, because that would be like at Amundsen Scott Base Station, which is claimed to be at 0. That would be the sun would be at 23.4 degrees the whole time, elevation angle, and it would stay
during the solstice.
Yeah,
it peaks.
For one day would be at that. Yes.
Well, yeah, but solstice is really pretty lethargic. That's why it's called standstill. For a couple of days, there's that's when the rate of change is the slowest.
Yeah, but the whole time you'd be there. Like if you went in December or whatever, it would be like 21, 22, 23, 24. It'd be all right up in those.
But like at Union Glacier went from 13 to 34, and if you go further south, it would be 22 and all day long.
Well, it would be 23.4 if it's right on the solstice.
Except they went in the 14th and the 15th and 16th, so it's very date specific.
Yeah, I'm just saying if it's on the solstice, yeah. Yeah, they said, Witz and Jaron said that there was that woman that they met, and she said, because ALE has a camp at 0 degrees as well, and when they were asking her, she said that, that the sun stays at that, 20, right around 23.4. It's going to be a little under if they're a little few days before, but.
And of the video, and of the recordings that have occurred that people don't like, it's not panoramic, it's in a fixed position, and the sun goes horizontally, not climbing or descending.
Yeah, it does similar to what it does in the north, it's just mirrored.
It is exactly the same as the north.
6 months off.
Has anybody measured the angular size or the sunspots at the north?
Yeah, the angular size is not dictated by latitude. The angular size at winter solstice is 1 arc minute smaller than its summer solstice in the northern hemisphere. So during the course of the day, it stays the same to any level that you can even imagine measuring.
Why is it smaller in the north?
I didn't say that. I said winter versus summer in the north, which is exactly the same as winter versus summer in the south. It's not driven by latitude, and it is not driven by latitude. It's the same angular size if you're at the equator or the North Pole on a given day.
Did they ever do a time lapse of 24 hour sun in the north? Any data on the sun there? I was told they did, but I could never find it.
Well, Jaron took 100 photos or something
in the north.
Well, the north to south, it's not driven by latitude. Yeah. The angular size of the sun in the north is 31 arc minutes in the winter and 32 arc minutes in the summer.
Do you know who measured that?
Yes.
Who? Where can I find this data?
In any sextant almanac.
Okay. Did they go to the north, like 80th parallel or whatever?
Yeah, they don't even list it by latitude. They list it by date, and they don't list it by time of day.
Yeah. So any sextant almanac will have the north sun data, like it's 24 hour sun, the north data.
It'll have the angular diameter of the sun, because using a sextant, you need to account for the diameter of the sun. And they don't give tables by latitude. They give a table by date, and it only varies that arc minute across the whole year. And you're only dealing with its radius, not its full diameter. So you're only dealing with 30 arc seconds, which can be ignored for basic marine navigation.
I was gonna say for marine navigation, you ignore it because it's just in the noise.
Well, 30 seconds is, it's not nothing, but yeah, in sextant navigation, you try to be, better than a tenth of an arc minute.
Shoebill and Geo and Taylor, if you look in the live stream text, I found a photo from supposedly 2011 of the Antarctic sun from McMurdo Station. Feel free to take a look at it. It's from 2011. It says it was uploaded November 12th, 11.
Hey, Shubil, on any other observation, how much curvature would you normally equate that 30 arc seconds to?
Well, given this the diameter of the sun, I don't know what you mean by affecting curvature or relating to curvature.
60 nautical miles per degree, so half a degree would be 30 miles.
In your sextant solution, if you were 30 seconds off or ignored that tens of seconds of error, or a detail you're ignoring, yeah, that affects your overall position. Yeah, half a mile here and there. And if you're out in open ocean, you're not too concerned about a half a mile.
A mile of curvature?
A mile of latitude and longitude.
How many arc seconds of curvature would you have, like, in looking like 100 miles? Like, do you have any clue?
Well, the curvature of the Earth, if you're looking for in vertical angle to, like another landmark, it's 26 arc seconds per mile.
Okay. Good enough.
Which is 8 inches mile squared. Same thing.
So you agree with 8 inches per mile squared?
By all my measurements over my past 35 years, yes, I do. I have the equipment. I bring the data. I bring my own measurements. Yeah, I do.
We figured out that it was like pear-shaped at the bottom.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Can that concession to the 8 inches per mile square on your end, not to pin you down on a gotcha, I'm just curious, can that be equated to an oblate spheroid, or is that perfect sphere in your eyes? How does that work?
Well, seeing how slight the oblateness of the Earth is, if you're only working in a few hundred square mile area, you can just use a single radius. But the radius does vary a little bit by latitude, so you take care depending on the project you're doing. And when I made the measurement of a great circle from Maine to Maryland with a point in the middle, yeah, I could detect the variation in distance to the center of the Earth. That was apparent in the measurement. I got about 2 mile different radius in Maine than I did, well, from New York to Maine was a couple of mile different radius than from Maryland to New York.
That's just with standard refraction?
No, there's a variety of ways. I did it with the standard refraction astronomic with the sun 60 degrees above the horizon is really quite slight. So there was only about 9 arc seconds difference between Maine and Maryland. But for that, I pulled that from the U.S. Naval Observatory, because no reason not to use the historic work of colleagues. And then when I did it without refraction by other methods, by not using angles, only using distances, I still got the same curvature.
How did we find out the values for celestial refraction?
It's been studied for centuries. So yeah, I use the U.S. Naval Observatory's formulary to estimate that.
I wonder how they got that. I wonder how they got how much star refraction there is.
You sit at a place where you know where you are, like the observatory, and you watch stars set, and you know you figure out when they're supposed to set versus when they do set.
Yeah, the thousands of university observatories studying it at the highest level of precision for decades upon decades.
You just have to jump onto Stellarium because they let you turn it on and off, and it's got to show it somewhere in the coding on what they're doing in the math.
Well, yeah, and that's utilizing what has been learned at the telescopes that wrote Stellarium.
How did they figure that out? If it's always a constant amount of refraction, how would they ever know the star's not actually there?
Well, it's complicated, a little bit too complicated to just recite to your satisfaction. So yeah, it took astronomers long periods of time, large tables of data, large amounts of maths to model the atmospheric effects by vertical angle. Over hundreds and hundreds of stars repeated for long periods of time. It was an accumulation. And it goes way back. Like even Tycho Brahe had tables of celestial refraction before the invention of the telescope. He was beginning to get good estimates of it by observation. Yeah.
Well,
He's got to do the work. You got to do the work. Okay, let's just say that. You got to do the work.
Well, what work did they do? I mean, anyway,
you sit at a known place, you watch the stars set, you know when they're supposed to set, you calculate when they should set, and then you look for when they really do set.
And you're using telescopes with precision angular reporting.
No, I got that.
And precision astronomic regulator clocks. And you very carefully measure the delta of angle and the delta of time across the array.
I think she's trying to backtrack. Like you said, you know when they're supposed to set, and then you see when they do.
Yep.
But the question is, how is that original know when it's supposed to set?
Okay, that was the job at the observatories of the astronomers, is to record those rise set times and table them and publish them. And for you, the citizen that wants to test it, you can test those times to see how well they come true for your observation and given the technical acuity of your equipment.
So really, it's just an average. Then they just watched it a bunch of times.
Okay,
we made an accumulative average and then agreed on that.
Well, if you want to summarize it like that, it does sound rather Carpenter-like, but it's not. It's with the highest level of science.
Okay.
With instrumentation. Take $1 million telescope with all the angular reporting and atomic clocks, and then table that up, and you want to call that just looking and averaging? Okay.
Is that not a summary of what they did, though?
In a rather insulting way, I suppose it is. Have someone, pour a big portion of their life's work into the precision measurement and tabling the results. You want to call that just looking and averaging?
Okay. I wasn't trying to take anything away from you, man. I was just trying to layman's convey it.
And by those observations, and then publish and table them, there you get the sextant ephemerides, which the mariners get to use to their safety and advantage.
So do you guys think that with the claim of like global warming and climate change, that you guys should maybe study and find a new average?
We were talking about astronomy and you switched to climate change, but okay.
Well, I mean, if that affects refraction, then, maybe it has something to do with the topic. I don't know.
Is global warming making the Earth look flat, Paige? The refraction has gotten so great. It's just it raised the curvature.
It's so hot in here.
No, I don't think so. Of all the effects of global climate change, I think that's a minor one.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone's questioning the telescope accuracy of getting the positions of the stars. But the question is, what models is it being fit into, and what assumptions are being made in the larger process?
Well, they're making the models.
Data.
They're making the models, and they're coming up with conclusions. You want to call those assumptions? I suppose, but they're making the models based on their measurements. They are not using somebody, using some cast down special secret knowledge. They are writing it.
What about the WGS-84, the coordinate system that the United States intelligence agencies publish as the coordinate system that does kind of come top down? That coordinate is what the actual globe is, essentially, the ball, the ellipsoid and geoid.
Which is a collaboration of universities and observatories and VLBI measurements back in the 70s. Yeah, very, very careful electronic measurements from all the major institutions across the globe. So it's not like some little black ops room in Washington D.C. just decided what it was going to be. It came from university grade data at the major observatories. Nothing secret about it. Before that was GRS 80, and before that was WGS 72, and before that was WGS 60, and there's the international ellipsoid. Then you have in the pre-electronic age where they had to do the best they could. You had the Clark 1866. You had there were several of them because orthometrically it varies by continent when you're just dealing with non-electronic observation means. The Bessel, that was the one, because in that 1900 survey they were comparing their measurements against Bessel and Clark.
Hey, what's that one guy's name that they were saying made a model for flat Earth right before the Antarctica trip?
Alonzo?
Joe Hanby.
Or Alonzo is as Flat Earth University, whatever.
Alonzo? No, some other guy. I think it started with a J, like Jacob or Joseph or something.
Joe Hanby.
Has that guy been in here before?
I don't think he's been on Discord. He's pretty flirtatious on TikTok, back and forth.
He was on that roundtable 10 days ago on KIC, and he's been he's done head to heads with several people.
Yeah, him and Duffy have had one, I think,
or at least.
I was just curious because I don't hear anybody model.
His testimony is that Yeah, his testimony is that God came to him in a dream before TFE was announced and said that this information would be vital. And so he woke up and made this model. And
Did God
yep.
revise it? Did God revise it 16 times too?
I'm not sure how that part worked out,
Oh, okay.
But hey, I'm just relaying the information. I'm not like stamping, anything.
Just wondering.
No, I mean, he's got an external light source. There's a lot of cool stuff about it. The superfluid, the two-way mirror. He's got tides from pressure, but there's a lot of things that are missing.
I wanted to check back on it because the last video I watched from him was not very compelling for me. But besides that, I don't see how the logic would work out anyways, because I mean, wouldn't that just be doing what you guys say the globe does, which is making a bunch of assumptions?
Oh yeah, for sure. He even admits you can put any type of map on it. Like it's not specifically just for flat Earth. You can project any type of terrestrial map inside of there, and then it doesn't have to necessarily be the star chart that's projected on the ceiling externally. It could be any type of projection, and it'll just reflect internally in the dome. So again, there's a lot of loopholes to it, and he admits that. It's not like he's claiming he's got answers.
I found the first official midnight sun photo in the Antarctic. It was taken in 1910. It was 1910 or 1911 by Herbert Ponting. It's recognized in Congress, so feel free to check it out. I posted it in the chat there.
Looks like they're destaffing NOAA, finally. The fake ass place.
Did you ever see that video that was circulating a few years back from the president of NOAA versus Ted Cruz in that climate change hearing?
Yup.
Yeah, that was pretty wild, man. And I think that thing got kind of, I mean, I don't know. There's people that told me about websites I didn't know about, like BitChute or something that has a lot of stuff that other websites don't. But that particular video I've had kind of hard time finding on, Google and YouTube and stuff anymore.
Yeah, it's the same as that old video, even older, of the congressional hearing of the CIA being asked if they're publishing anything in Hollywood or in the media. And they refused to answer and had to push it to a skiff.
I think the only big thing or reason why they would have in that one video was because of that admission to that thing called the pause, where like all the data stopped showing any type of demonstrable climate change or weather increase. Everything else, like that wasn't even the topic of the hearing. The topic of the hearing was about it was like a racial lawsuit about this job or this push of this information was causing certain companies to shut down because of their, quote unquote carbon footprint. And it was inside of inner cities and it was affecting, people of color more than anybody else. And so that's what that whole hearing was about. But for some reason, I don't know if he knew what he was doing or why, but he pushed really hard on that climate change position and made him admit that there is no demonstrable evidence of it. And they have a term for it called the pause. I thought that was really, really unique.
That's crazy.
What do you mean there's no? What do you mean there's no demonstrable proof or evidence of that? Have you seen any pictures of the glaciers recently?
Tons of pictures, yeah. Well, no, this is according to the president of NOAA, as we were just discussing. And so on the stand, he admitted, after getting counseled by his underlings because he didn't know what he was supposed to say, that there is a term out there called, quote, the pause, end quote. And that is a term that they use in the scientific community to account for the lack of demonstrable data showing that there is climate change. And so for layman's terms,
I mean, in one particular. No, because
no, not in one particular instance. It's over a period of time because, again, that's what the whole hearing was about, was that this climate change data that the world is heating up and these carbon footprints are very bad for the economy is why these companies were shutting down. And these companies were located in inner city areas to where it was affecting mostly people of color, just like I said a minute ago. So, yeah, I mean, that's...
Do you have any do you have a link to this hearing?
I believe Ted already knew that the intelligence agencies were influencing NOAA, right? And the same thing with USGS. Like, this is just the beginning.
Do you think that NOAA is a bad thing?
I don't think NOAA is a bad, system, but it's fully compromised. Like they're laying off 1,000 employees right now for a reason because they've been falsifying data with US tax dollars. No, that's incorrect.
That's totally correct. I've known several people working NOAA. They're very ethical people.
That's and didn't that Simmons guy who admitted to making the Blue Marble 2.0? I want to say, I could be wrong, but I want to say he mentioned that the ground-based data that they used to create that model, they got from NOAA, was like a big partner for where they got all their information from. And again, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what he said in that little interview about
NOAA does a lot of shit.
Why it's fake and it has to be and all that.
NOAA does a lot of shit. I mean, NOAA's a pretty big. I mean, they're based in Boulder. I'm up on the hill.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of NOAA since I was a kid. Storm chasing with my dad. Like, it was a big, passionate thing for me, realizing they were falsifying. There's a large section of NOAA that has been falsifying data for the intelligence agencies. That doesn't mean the entire agency is bad, right? Just like we know the FBI is not all bad. The CIA is probably not all bad. It's the problem, these compartmentalized intelligence influences that come in and get control in ways that we can't really see. It's so covert, right? And I'm behind you in saying that that system's got a lot of reliable information, but knowing they're being caught right now for using U.S. tax dollars, using our tax dollars to lie to us, that's crazy.
Yeah, because what? Because Ted Cruz says so?
Well, no, it'd be Doge. So they haven't released
Doge,
the full report,
Doge, who, yeah, we should trust them, right? Because,
Well, it would be the president of NOAA, because all Ted did was just got him to admit what they go by. And so it's like if people are politicizing climate change, like Bernie Sanders and other at the time when all that was popular, then, maybe they shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, and you can see it as them being just another group of bad guys coming in and changing the agenda, right? They're removing a previous op and installing a new one. And I'm up for that. But seeing the shift right now, it's been a decade process of NOAA being in question, USGS being in question, the Smithsonian being in question. The entire archaeological community right now has a fire to their ass because no one trusts anything they're saying anymore. People are watching fucking Ancient Aliens instead of looking at real papers. So it's like they've done this themselves. They act like people are stupid for looking at YouTube for knowledge, but they just sit there and lie to us and act like we're stupid. Dutch Sense on YouTube does a full breakdown on USGS and NOAA in depth that I'm not even privy to the whole story, but apparently it's like started back in the 80s, so with radar deception. They captured like HARP signatures, being used to make storms stronger than they should have been, low pressure manipulation, all this stuff. There are whistleblowers from FEMA that worked in the high levels of government disaster response that are coming out and explaining what they're doing with these low pressure systems. It's pretty much self-admitted by these whistleblowers. They're saying they're targeting low and middle income populations with these storms. Like Hurricane Helene is being claimed to have been literally just like a weather attack. So, and I think that's the level it goes to. So like debating whether or not there's parts of these groups that are good or bad, like they're scientific communities and people get degrees and they go work and put their life into them, but it's compartmentalized above that, right? They may have a real project they can see the results of, but the data that's being taken is being misused.
I apologize, and I think corrected. It wasn't NOAA. It was the president of the Sierra Club, and it was Obama that was pushing them, using them during his campaign.
That was Aaron Mayer, right?
Yeah.
It really is crazy seeing these like main characters continue to play these roles in pivotal situations.
Yeah, here's like a description. It said, building on the success of these coal plant closures, that's what it was, and retirements, the Sierra Club's advocacy with the public and the Obama administration strengthened U.S. leadership at the 2015 Paris Climate Summit, resulting in the most ambitious climate agreement in history, with 196 countries making country-specific pledges to be reviewed every 5 years. So that was a huge play for that company or organization, whatever you want to call them, and their data that they were pushing, that they admitted was just a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, like all the core sample data has pretty much been instantly debunked. Like you can see layers that are formed, just like hundreds of layers that can form in just a couple seasons. So there's just a huge standard of data that's just that they use for a whole model they built that was entirely fake. The fact that they refuse to overlap like sun cycle data with the warming and cooling of ocean currents with this climate change model was a huge red flag. Like even for my dad, who's like he's just a meteorologist guy, like went to college for it. But he's like surface level. He just likes to get a little talks about it. Like he brought that up to me, and I was just like, wow. this weekend should be really interesting. Actually, we got a solar storm and a large low pressure system. It's gonna bring a severe outbreak in the mid south, and it's looking insane. Like it's looking like close to we could see like sustained like tropical storm winds in some places.
Go check off the west coast of Africa and see if HARP is pumping or not.
For real. I'm gonna have 2 radar sources up looking for the HARP signature that I've seen referenced.
Damn, man. So they're faking pictures of the globes because they have to. They're faking data about the climate on the globe because they have to, and then they're politicizing it also. That's some dirty dog scoundrel shit there. Globers in the room. What type of tactics are these you guys got going on? I mean, it almost sounds like you guys are trying to like do conspiratorial stuff.
The depth of it is really wild. Like all the way down to like the idea that there's non-renewable resources. I mean, the level of fiction they've employed is pretty insane.
Yeah, that's what's got us a slave to a dollar, dude. Is that scarcity is a real thing.
Yep. Artificial scarcity in food, energy, all the quality of life. Pump everybody up with fake ass jobs. I worked in like high level IT in my early 20s, and just it was so apparent to me that I was like, what? Like I can literally just be like slack off and no one even notices. Like there are certain jobs above certain education levels where it's just like, what is this? And I say that because I mean there's untold trillions of dollars being invested by our tax dollars into systems that they want to create an agenda behind, right? So if you look at the basics that they're misinforming us on the climate and they're presenting this entire shift in energy usage and trying to restrict certain resources, you know, that's one element, one of the biggest, you know, sectors in the world. Like, of course, they've got their fingers in everything else. Farmers are paid to burn their crops, so our shit costs more. Like supply and demand is totally artificial.
And that's like the grand scheme of for the answer of like why does it matter when people ask that. It's like if you really look at it and step back and see how it all boils down, what the information could point to. Is that at least like this gigantic slave system that we're all caught up in because of this quote unquote globe model. But they love it, man. They come in here and fight for it.
Yep. Every man in here is worth 100K a year. Just go buy land and start building a house. You got YouTube. You can learn every day a new skill. Invest your labor into your own assets. Stop putting your money in the fucking bank. Go build a family bank. There's just all these things people don't want to do that we could do. It's just, but there, you know, there's an education curve.
I was even watching some videos on the top 5 cheapest places to buy land in the U.S. And obviously, they're not like ideal for the 9-to-5 life. But if we're talking like what we're talking, most of these states in these rural areas will actually give you land for free as long as you build a home on the property within 2 years, and you don't have to pay any mortgage payments for the first year on the property.
Yeah, dude, I'm so close to doing it.
And 9 times out of 10, you're going to get FHA, USDA, like 0% down loan because it is rural area and they're trying to stimulate that economy. So it's like, it's such an incentive, you know what I mean? Go get some free acres of land, go get a crew of, friends and go out into a small town all next to each other, get a giant plot of land and build a few properties and then turn around, flip them and sell them.
Yep. Decade later, your kids are learning how to run a business in the town instead of dealing with big city bullshit.
Yeah, it's hard to beat free land at 0% down and 0% on the on the loan. Maybe not 0% on the loan, but it's still pretty fucking cheap.
Yeah, there's some great plots in Montana I've been looking at, and it's just like, can I survive the winter? But I think it'd be so easy. You get a cabin and a wood burning stove. It's just chill. It's no problem.
Yeah, I saw a technique where you can wrap some copper wire around the stove and just use that to heat the water.
Yeah, I've been looking at nice, like compact, small ones. You can get like heat fans. It has a stovetop you can cook on. Pretty nice. There's a company called Arch Cabins in Texas. It's like archcabins.com. They sell like a $2,000 cabin you can build in a day with a buddy. And it's like the size of a studio apartment. It's like 12-foot ceilings. So you can have like upstairs bunk. You can have your entire downstairs square footage for kitchen and living space.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yep, I've got it all mapped out. I think I could build it for like 14 or 15K plus the cost of land. So that's well under 30K.
Yeah, and then you can grow some food in the greenhouse.
take over the world.
Run away from the world.
Yeah. It's cool now too because you could just get Starlink, so you really don't actually have to go off grid.
Dude, you can get Reflect Orbital. You can get mobile sunlight in the middle of the night, wherever you are. You can just order some sunlight now.
Dude, it puts a square sun on you from a satellite or something? That sounds wild.
Yeah, that's their startup. I was convinced that that's what they were using for TFE if they did go anywhere. But yeah, you literally just go on their website, punch in your coordinates, swipe your card. They got a little fucking shopping cart on their website, and you can order some sunlight. And they got satellites in the sky with mirrors on them, and they reflect sunlight to you. It's hilarious.
Lensing glitch. Half your family gets vaporized. Oh, Jesus! What happened? Hopefully it's not even possible for them to turn that to a death ray. That's so genius, though.
Yeah, I want to do a little dive on to see if they have any published information on, how they're accomplishing this. Because I mean, you would need like stationary. You couldn't have, what do they call it, geosynchronous satellites. You'd have to have stationary ones that are like staying still, or maybe I don't know. Maybe they move with the I don't know.
There's this Valley City. Can't remember where it's at, but they have like a mirror set up so they can get sunlight during points in the day in the town square because there's like no sun.
Is it like it's at like the base of a mountain, right?
Yeah, it's like in a valley with like kind of a mountain on one side and like a valley on the other.
Yeah, I've seen like little Instagram videos about it. I didn't know if it was real or not.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're like you see the townspeople all hanging out in the middle in this sunlight coming off a mirror. It's so interesting.
Yeah, that's the theory right there.
That would be sick. You're gonna see some parties in the future. 2 a.m. and they got the sun pointing at them from the satellite.
Just start pulsing that bitch and fucking MK Ultra everybody.
Yep. Instant software update.
I know Kung Fu.
You've been looking at the consciousness shifting theory stuff?
Yeah, Elon just filed for trademarks on telepathy and telekinesis. I don't know what's about to happen, but that's pretty scary.
It really is. What the fuck?
Yeah, look that up.
That means they got shit mapped out well enough. They're like, dude, we can send and receive signals directly to the brain now.
Yeah, we could just be talking to ourselves right now, for all I know. Anymore, nothing's real. No matter who I think I am, and nobody's real. That's what I feel some days. I feel like my whole experience that I understand of living created this personality, and then I like do my attempt to project it everywhere I go. But depending on your mood and how you move around, if you're in a bad mood, I'm just going to be the bad guy, no matter what my intentions are. And you're just going to perceive me, and you're going to like build this personality of who I am in your own head. And I just don't exist, no matter how hard I try. And so just nobody exists anymore, and they're just fucking with us at this point.
And what if they're just literally broadcasting? Like we see Elon on the TV, he's just like sitting at home. Everything's imprinted on our consciousness.
Did you guys ever play the game? Try to practice on your telepathy. My friends and I, we would like say guess a number, and then we would try to read each other's minds. That was pretty fun.
There's this little like trendy video going around that's kind of like that, but it's more like, I guess it's kind of like that, and it's kind of brain wordplay building. And it's where like you got two people and you count to three, and then you both just say a random word that's on your mind, and then you both have to find, and then you both count to three again after saying those first words. Then you have to try to think of a correlating word between what both of you said, and you try to do it in as least amount of times until both of you say the same exact word.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It gets pretty funny, and it's pretty interesting to see when some people get really dialed in. They can get it in like 2 to 3 tries, and then other people will take 20 to 30.
Flow state.
My sister, oh, go ahead.
I was laughing.
My sister, she knew, or she.
You both have to find, and then
Be fun.
There's this little like trendy video going around that's kind of like that, but it's more like, I guess it's kind of like that, and it's kind of brain wordplay building. And it's where like you got two people and you count to three, and then you both just say a random word that's on your mind, and then you both have to find, and then you both count to three again after saying those first words. then you have to try to think of a correlating word between what both of you said. And you try to do it in as least amount of times until both of you say the same exact word.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It gets pretty funny, and it's pretty interesting to see when some people get really dialed in. They can get it in like 2 to 3 tries, and then other people will take 20 to 30.
Flow state.
You know, my sister, she. Oh, go ahead.
I was laughing.
My sister, she knew, or she went and met a mentalist with some friends, and she said, if I'm not mistaken, she had a thought about the mentalist's girlfriend, and as soon as my sister had that thought, the girl turned around and looked right at my sister with like cutting eyes, as if she read her mind. But yeah, potentially people could read people's thoughts. I think it's called mentalism. But I believe you can guard your thoughts as well.
Well, we know you can measure the heart, the mind's electromagnetic fields. Right? It would make sense that someone would have like a higher sensitivity to other magnetic fields.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure the U.S. military knows all about it. I heard about, remember remote viewing, where they would have someone in a room and then they would try to visualize places on the Earth?
Yep.
That's pretty interesting.
You know about hemisyncing?
That one, no.
This is what the CIA. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I want to hear what you're about to say.
Yeah, the hemisyncing is like a declassified program from the CIA. It's called the gateway process, but they've declassified like the whole process, how they were training people. Certain people are more capable, more naturally able to pull this off, but through the process of like a certain meditation technique, you can like line up the frequency of the mind and the heart, and it's called like hemisyncing in this paper that they released. But apparently, it creates like extremely like an extreme flow state, like where you're like your IQ drastically increases, your reaction time, everything just is crazy better, I guess.
It might be my extracurricular activities, but when you say that, like the visual that I get is Ace Ventura: Pet Detective when he's on the top of that at the beginning of the movie when he's on the top of that.
More capable, more naturally able to pull this off.
Remote viewing, where they would have someone in a room and then they would try to visualize places on the Earth.
Yep.
That's pretty interesting.
You know about hemisyncing?
That one, no.
This is what the CIA. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I want to hear what you're about to say.
Yeah, the hemisyncing is like a declassified program from the CIA. It was like it's called the gateway process, but they've declassified like the whole process, how they were training people. Certain people are more capable, more naturally able to pull this off, but through the process of like a certain meditation technique, you can like line up the frequency of the mind and the heart, and it's called like hemisyncing in this paper that they released. But apparently it creates like extremely like an extreme flow state of like where you're like your IQ drastically increases, your reaction time, everything just is crazy better, I guess.
It might be my extracurricular activities, but when you say that, like the visual that I get is Ace Ventura: Pet Detective when he's on the top of that at the beginning of the movie when he's on the top of that Buddhist temple and he's meditating and like has his out of body remote viewing experience and goes somewhere else. Oh, right.
Have you guys seen the video of people starting fires with their hands?
I have. I've seen the spoon benders and some of the people that can heat up metal. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I think it's video trickery.
Yeah, supposedly there's this Asian man. He was like doing acupuncture, but I'll try to find the video. But he was able to start like there was a piece of paper and he was able to ignite it. And interestingly enough, I met this young guy Nico at the hospital here, who was a flat earther. His sister, her close friend, is like she was looking into witchcraft and whatnot, and he told me that she was able to start fires as well. I'll try to post the video of the Asian man doing it at least. One moment.
All I've seen is those corny guys on TikTok that like push the little pieces of aluminum foil across the counter with their hand as they wave it.
Build up like a shitload of static charge.
But there are a couple videos of the dude that does the napkin thing, and he makes that napkin levitate above his hands. Have you guys seen that? And there's like it looks really real. There's people in the shop that he's in multiple places. He does it in all these different coffee shops, sandwich shops, and people that are sitting at the tables next to him are like, "What the fuck?" They're all staring at him too. And he does some like weird air bending stuff with a napkin.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I don't know what's up with that guy.
He's like moving his hands real fast around it.
Yeah, and it's just levitating. He can make it move down, move up.
It's
It looks
very,
like
very
David
intriguing.
Blaine shit.
Yep. I think they're using, like, there's certain like rubs you could put on your hand that would make your hand like build more static charge, probably.
Yeah.
I think there's something up. That's the only thing I can think of.
You never know. I posted the video. His name is John Chang, and I think there's another guy that can do it as well. But I remember I watched this video before I met that guy Nico, and probably like maybe a month or a few weeks, and he said the same thing because we were getting into like demonic possession, and he told me all about his sister's friend and how she was starting fires, and it reminded me just like this video. So it's something about the chi. Maybe this is what inspired the Mortal Kombat. Oh no, what is it? Street Fighter?
Mortal Kombat. What about Stan Lee's superhumans, man? Some people just have, different abilities and connections to the environment around us. Did you ever see that series on National Geographic? I think it was.
Maybe. I mean, I used to like Nat Geo.
It's the guy who did Spider-Man and comic books and stuff, Stan Lee, and he did a series called Superhumans, I believe it was. And he found all these people from across the world that had these wild and kind of like comic book style talents slash gifts or whatever, I guess. And there's one guy that was hooking himself up to electricity that would normally just drop your ass on the floor, and he'd just play around with it like it was nothing. There's another guy that had like Batman style sonar built into his hearing because he was blind, and they built some crazy obstacle course for him, and he would
click his way through.
Yeah, he would make those clicks, and he could build a little bat sonar system with it and navigate through the obstacles. And it's a pretty cool series. There were some things on there that you watched and you're like, if you took them for granted and there wasn't just editing or something weird, it's some pretty interesting stuff. I think it went for a couple seasons, so there should be some good content.
It was a pretty cool show. There's the flexible guy that was the host, right? I think I remember that.
Core memories popping up.
See, I saw a lot of like dark demonic rituals when I was younger, like fucking around on the dark part of the internet. And I've seen so many common denominators with like information that I found. It looks like a lot of these people may have done like a ritual in the past to get these powers, if they're real, right?
Wouldn't surprise me. Remember, it happened with people in music. Supposedly, the first guy to master the guitar. I think all the rock stars think of him as the original jazz guy. And supposedly, the people who knew him before him, they said he couldn't play the guitar at all. And then when he came back, he was like out of this world.
Well, even even if you get biblical on it, like King Solomon, dude, he had this ring, and he could like summon demons and stuff and make them do things, And so, I don't know. I've heard rappers say they use like Leviticus and different biblical things to do like dark magic. So, I think it's pretty real.
Yeah, for profit.
Yeah,
and it also drives the prison system because it gets people riled up, keeps the police busy, the lawyers busy, the judges busy, the parole officers. Takes away votes.
Yeah, I've said it's all frequency stuff, man. I've said it a few times in here. I always mention it because I think it's pretty unique. It's like a weird concession. Kanye West in an interview, years back before he went really wild, he was like really focused on music. He was talking about how they were asking him why he made the album called 808s and Heartbreaks, and he said he studied music and frequencies in the body and reactions to it, and found that a lot of producers and stuff use this when they're making albums, but that 808 frequency taps into like a sad, depressive state. And it's weird because the album was separate from this interview. The interview was just him talking about his production capabilities, but then, I think it was either pre or post the interview, he had that 808s and Heartbreaks album. So it's like he made a whole album using those synths and frequencies that create those states that he was talking about that he studied. So they know what they're doing.
Yeah, you want to hear? You're just hitting a note from me here. No pun intended. The vacuum tubes, like Moog, they developed specific vacuum tubes that like don't allow unpleasant sounds to even come out of them.
Oh.
It's like you hear all these mixes on the radio. They're going through these boards called a Neve,
Mm-hmm.
and it costs. You can't really get the real hardware. You can buy an emulator for a couple grand, like a software emulator, but to get a real board, they're like $200,000 plus. And I bet you probably couldn't even buy one. Like I think they're sitting in studios. You got to go pay to use them. So that's a big. Yeah, big secret there with the Babylon fake music industry.
Oh yeah.
Well, there was a popular hip hop video that it's not so much in like the conspiracy world; it's more of just kind of like in the hip hop world known about. But Bone Thugs and Harmony, if anybody's ever heard about them, they had an interview out where they talk about a meeting that they went to where people sat down and basically just had admissions of what the blueprint of what was going on and kind of what the expectancy of them was. And it was to make this particular music because the private industry prison system had opened up, and all these record label executives did into the private industry prison systems. So they go and recruit talent to talk about murdering, killing, death, all this negative stuff. And then they promote it into the community, knowing that it does these physiological things to people in response to it, that listen to it all the time, and then they go and get incarcerated. But that just fattens their pockets because they're invested in the private industries.
Man, I've heard some takes on those along those lines.
Yeah, it's called like the famous meeting or the secret meeting of hip hop. Some weird shit on YouTube. Like you can find different videos of it, but I mean, it's the actual guys themselves talking about it.
Did you know Jay-Z invented a technique with 808s where he was the first rapper to stack them like in mono? He would take like two 808s and just stack them in mono, and it just makes it makes sounds real fat, wide. I just feel like that's got to be connected, right? If you know the importance of the 808, of course you're going to discover a unique technique with it, right?
Right. To
So
emphasize it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Did you know the Beatles invented stereo? Yeah, like they took two tape recorders and he like literally during the recording process he would flam it with his fingers, the record button. So it would record like two recordings that were just milliseconds apart, and then he would re-record. Yeah, the total like with the gap in there. So like stereo is just the effect of like less than 0.3 milliseconds.
Just barely overlapping.
Yeah, when I saw that I was like, holy shit! And then they basically use like the speakers, the speaker placement. The delay is separated right and left. So it's the whole signal on right and left. It's not like the delayed one is on the right and the real one's on the left. They actually take the whole signal and split it right and left. So it's like there's all these techniques they use to make this music sound so have so many dimensions. It's like
and then all the ad libs that go into it with that too. How they kind of throw those subliminal and like emphatic expressions on certain words that they want you to focus on without knowing that you're focusing on it.
Yep.
Dude, it's messed up.
It really is. Frequency's got to be OP, and they know about it.
There's also weird videos out there of like people saying that they would take records back in the day before they would release them and put them inside some like weird little vault and do some type of seance or some shit, some spell on them.
Yep. Yeah, you've heard about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That water company did the same shit. That's how it went viral to a bunch of normies. Because people then found out that ritual, like there were people that had the same job that did do rituals over products for like 60 years, and they make like good incomes. People found out these people are living in like $500,000 houses and shit, like doing contracts with the government in Hollywood. Like what? Witches get paid, bro.
Witches be getting paid. That's crazy. Yep. Tom Brady's wife's a witch. He admitted that. He said she would do seances and ritual before his games.
Wow.
Taylor Switch?
No, yeah, Taylor Switch, exactly. her and her little best friend Ice Spice, that fucking trash ass bitch.
Dude, it's crazy.
It's like you got all these little, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It was exactly, you took the words right out of my mouth. Take all these little conservative, teeny bopper, little precious blonde hair, blue eyed girls, and introduce them to some wrong stuff.
Did you guys see Ariana Grande recently?
She's fucking crazy.
Well, get this. When she was early on the business, when she was getting very popular, she actually told reporters a demon went to her in her bedroom, and this was after she went to like some. I think she was talking about they were doing stuff at the graveyard. But now she just recently, maybe some people think it was a Freudian slip. She mentioned that she was at this place called the Brighter Days Clinic, where they did this memory erasure, where they erased the memory.
That's from
is that real?
No, that's from a movie. That's like a homage to a movie.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
Is it Train Spotting? Somebody help me. Is it Train Spotting?
That was an interesting one.
Where is it? Let me see. Let me look it up real quick. I think it was from Train Spotting, an old like drug culture movie.
So you did see that clip of her?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble remembering. They did the procedure, the memory erasure.
Oh, I know the Clockwork Orange. They did something like that.
Oh, that might be the movie too. That's another cult classic.
There's a keyword if you want to go down that rabbit hole. It's called Clonade. That's the company everyone's found that's actually real.
What's weird about that is fictional clinic where the protagonist Mark Renton, the movie Train Spotting. Yeah, Brighter Days Clinic is from Train Spotting. Mark Renton seeks to get clean from heroin, so he goes there and has like memory erasure. Erasure, as she says. What did you say before that?
Oh, about how she had a demon go to her bedroom?
No, the other.
Clockwork.
Or Clockwork.
No, you said something else. I think you said something else a second ago.
Oh, Clonade?
Clonade. So a few years ago, I thought it was just this fucking joke, but there was this rapper that was going around doing these interviews. And yeah, he was like, everyone's like, oh, this is like some weird ass clone rapper, blah, blah, blah. Like, and then he just started doing these interviews saying that he came from that facility. And yeah, I remember him dropping the name of that place.
Yep. People thought that people thought they were running an op, but it's a real company.
I'll put the link in. He said, like, he explained the whole process in one of the interviews. It was really weird.
Have you heard of
I thought it was a joke, like he was just trolling for views or whatever. But I don't know.
I think thumbs up for sure.
He talked about he's a second generation clone.
Yep. They got a bunch of different ways to get actors, and I think they know how to grow really reliable ones.
He escaped someone.
This is a deep part of the rabbit hole, though. It's like gets into the mask technology, like who is actually worth them cloning into a real person instead of just using the mask tech.
There you go. It's in the chat. It says he's a second gen clone that escaped from the facility. Yeah.
Yep. Kid Buu, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Isaac Cappy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
That name sounds familiar.
I think it's all connected.
Whistleblower.
Yeah. Okay. If you missed that, I'd go look up as much as you can about Isaac Cappy. Very interesting.
Yeah.
He's like a ex-Hollywood, and he was whistleblowing like it's probably during the first Trump administration or just before it. But he got killed. Like, dude, just didn't
He foresaw it too.
Yep.
He made video testimonies about it.
It's crazy.
Alex Jones's boy just got marked outside his property. RIP.
James White. That sucks. That really sucks. That's why I think the factions, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're at each other's throats too.
Oh yeah.
Straight up high IQ, sociopath, psychopath, predators.
Yeah. Big money, just murder people. When you've got a lot of money and you have the right connections, you can just pay off crimes. You don't even have to have them on the books.
Yep.
That's why it's really weird. If you go look at all crimes, there's sentencing grids that come for each individual charge, and part of the punishment, it's a split. There's always two options of what the charge can carry, and one of them is always a number, or actually they're both numbers. One of them is just months or years that you're going to do in prison, and the other one is a dollar amount that charge carries and like fines to the state. It's really weird. So you can just, you can afford crime.
Yep. Pay to win. If a game was set up like this, no one would fucking buy it. It's crazy. There's a class of people that can't afford to have, an attorney represent them in court, so that they actually have to go to court. Then there's a whole class of people that they just pay someone who goes to court for them.
Yeah, and then the fucked part is when you can't afford anybody, and they give you that appointed one. Those appointed ones, 9 times out of 10, are in bed with the state, and they're trying to work deals with them to build up the reputation so they can move it further in their career. Like, nobody's doing fucking pro bono work out here in 2025 because they're an advocate. That shit don't exist, dude. People have bills to pay.
Yep. When I got arrested for pot in my teens, I got an appointed representation. I just got thrown to the wolves because my parents were like, "It's your fault. You got to deal with it."
Yeah, they're like, just tell me everything that happened so I can help you out.
Yep. I got freaking 6 months of community service, thousands of dollars in fines. It was insane. It was like my first time getting in trouble for anything. I think they probably knew other things that I'd done couldn't prove it somehow. I was crazy. I was trapping weed and stuff like that, but it would have gone way different because anytime I got in trouble after that, I got an attorney or I got a lawyer, and it was just so easy.
Yeah, the outcomes are definitely a lot different when you pay versus you take what they give you.
Yep. Different flavor of law for everyone's checkbook. No checkbook, you're just going to be in the drunk tank for a week until the judge decides to come talk to you.
Oh, yeah.
That builds character.
Yeah. When all you got is a drain on the floor and the walls are really soft. Just pee on the ground, bro.
Yep. Got a nice concrete bench.
Yeah, I don't want to go too far into like the whole dive of it, but I had an interesting experience a few times. And I don't know if it's just because of my geographical location or what, but there's some smooth experts in this area where I was always constantly getting in trouble. And it's a very, very rich community that has lots of money to, expand on all these different things. And one of them was, justice reform or whatever you want to call it. And so this jail in particular would like send these people as representatives that I learned, and they would go to these conventions and find out what the federal regulations were for like the minimal amounts of accommodations that they could provide legally to humans while they were holding them. And so they went off to like this really, really skewed federal guideline versus what should have been, just like a local and state kind of thing. And so you went in there and it was like a concentration camp, man. Little inch thick mattresses and everybody in white and blue striped outfits and can't get shit, don't get shit. It's just really weird how that whole thing happened. And then like in the whole midst of me being through there, is when that whole Orange is the New Black series was going on. So I got a really personal and external look at that whole private industry, like we were talking about before, bringing it back full circle.
Yep.
It's pretty disgusting how one individual can go buy a prison. Literally, like if you wanted to tomorrow and had the bankroll, you could go buy a prison and just own the people that are in there, and the state is going to work like a separate contract with you. So they don't have to be technically responsible for the people on record. That's the only excuse for all of it, you know, so they can step away and kind of wash their hands of the situation, but still be, you know, accounted for doing something, I guess, finding some form of housing, but it's just all private contracts now. You can just go own people. You can have slaves again. And then you can have companies get built onto the camps, and you can let the inmates run as employees for that company. They will only hire inmates, and you can have really, really, really low labor rates, and then get your incentive write-offs.
They say red shirts are worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Just a couple prisons, so I bet it's $1 billion industry.
Oh, it's massive, man. It is massive.
Yeah.
Because even like the stats are disgusting for the United States. The amount of people that have been incarcerated or have family that are incarcerated or are on or have been some form of supervision, it's like almost 75% of the population.
Yeah, then you overlap that with 500,000 new misdemeanor laws being created just in like the last 30 years. It's
Or
pretty
even the ones being eradicated, though. Like that's where it's really fucking up. Like you look at Cali, that's why it's a shithole now in all these states they basically eradicated misdemeanor crime. And they said, you know, if it's not $1,000, if it's not felonious, don't call us. That's why all those shops are having all those theft problems, because they made everything $1,000 and more. You know, it's felonious. Anything under that's misdemeanor, and they won't show up. They're like, sorry, just document it.
Yep. And you know, you go to jail one time when you're 20 and it smells like throw up for 48 hours and you can't sleep because you're on a stone bench. That motivates a lot. Yeah, it motivates a lot of people not to go to jail again. So I am a big fan of that, actually. The older
you go sleep in that strong tank with that local crackhead, dude. That'll put some character in your bloodstream.
I was in there with a guy this old man that had a tutu, and he got arrested for public indecency. And I was like, "What is my life? What is happening?
Yeah.
This is Arkansas. This is Arkansas drunk tank."
And it's crazy because, you know, the hard part of that is like, yeah, that hurts a lot of these shop owners and these small mom and pop businesses. But the hard part is they've done that same felonious amount for the drug possession. And it's like, in your younger years, if you're doing things, it's like, oh, cool, you can do drugs. Like, but when you think about it from an adult perspective, it's like, dude, that's not good to just say people can have up to an ounce of any fucking substance they want on them walking around. And it's like, that's saying people can have an ounce of meth or an ounce of heroin. So like that stuff is incredibly dangerous, especially with, you know, all the fentanyl and stuff that's out there nowadays. To think about that being legal up to a certain amount, and people it's just nuts, man, where our society has kind of gone to.
Yeah, the politicians might want that because then it keeps them in power, right? Because everyone's going to be stoned out of their minds.
No, 100%. Yeah, you're right on that. Yeah, keep everybody docile, and ignorance is bliss. You know, if you're blissful, you're not taking care of responsibility. Somebody's going to need to do that. That does create that suckle effect, if you want to call it that. You know, you need the tit. But just even from like a human, I don't know if I'm relaying it right. Just on a human level, just to write laws like that, knowing there's people that are out there just fucking getting wasted off drugs, dying off of it, and then to legalize it, like the penalization of it is the only thing that's saving some of these guys' lives. Like that's most of these dudes that are getting picked up off the streets and thrown into county jails, they're fucking saving them. They're sobering up. They're cleaning them up for a few weeks, if not a month or two on end, before they go back out there and kill themselves. You know, and just it's weird. It's really weird. Oregon, like right now, Oregon's wide open. You can just do anything you want out there, up to an ounce of anything.
Yeah.
Maybe the politicians want it too, so they don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
I love the fact that none of these places are going to be getting federal money if they keep doing this bullshit. I actually do love that. So.
Nice.
Man, it's really interesting. You know, it's like I guess you can just say I'm a conspiracy theorist, like to the absolute core. You know, so yeah, the fantasy of it seems great. You know, come in, sweep up, clean up the place, fix up, make it great. But the reality and the pattern recognition, you know, doesn't uphold. And so it's like, it's just going to be a continuation. It sounds good, and there may be some drastic, rapid changes up front. But my heart, me personally, still hasn't adapted any type of biblical, spiritual, prophetic, no type of correlation to anything like that. It's just, we're still, the hamster wheel is still going. You know, it's just maybe one of the hamsters hopped off and now there's another one running, but the wheel's still going.
Nice. Hey, do you remember that? Oh, go ahead, bro. Sorry.
Well, no, go ahead. I don't want to rant too much.
That's okay. I was just gonna quickly say. Remember, I told you guys about that guy, John Chang, who could start a fire with a piece of paper. Supposedly, Mel Gibson actually went and saw him, and he shared his experience on the Joe Rogan. I just put it in the side chat. So supposedly, he was able to harness the electrical charge in his body, and he could stimulate body muscle movement on people's body just with his hands. And I posted it if you guys want to check it out sometime. Imagine that. It's pretty interesting.
It is.
I think chi is real for sure.
She's like ether absorption.
Yeah, you'd be like channeling.
Yeah, maybe the electric field or the magnetic field plus the electric nature of the body.
Yeah, you're like an independent harp node, like an independent antenna, like harp style. Like you can transmit and absorb frequencies.
Yeah, supposedly Mel says he was lifted off into the air 8 inches. And
I want to see levitation face to face. I've seen those videos, dude, of them Africans going up like 6-7 feet in the air, you know, doing some weird wild stuff where the fires are burning and the little paper things in the middle, and then all of a sudden the whole thing burns down. Then some weird guys underneath the tent spinning around, and yeah, you could have a little protection from some flames. But I've seen some videos where dudes are like in the air, floating, suspended.
Yeah,
I don't think it's beyond what we're capable of. I have dreams of being able to fly on command, and it feels fucking so real to the point where I'll get real drunk and stoned sometimes and just go try to practice it in the garage. I might try to practice after I get off of here.
That's amazing.
Should add some Amanita muscaria to the equation. That would help you fly.
Dude, I'm gonna get up there with them. My fucking gas station down the street sells chocolate bars of that stuff, dude. It's great.
Well, that's why I like the flying reindeer and all that. Like that comes from because when you eat amanitas, you can sometimes feel like you're actually flying. That's why I like the flying reindeer and the reindeer eat the mushrooms. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think we can, from how real it feels and how lucid my dreams are. Like, and sometimes they become lucid dreams to where you can actually control it, and it's not just you experiencing the dream. Like I can just lift off on command. I'll be like, hey, check this out. And then it's this weird thing I do with my hands, like Goku. Like I'm pushing an energy field forward, but I do it down towards the ground. I start levitating, and I can just kind of move around. And so I try it every once in a while. Just saying.
I had a lucid dream one time that I felt like I could like. It was weird. I felt like if I moved my hands at the right speed, I could like create like a pressure, like I was swimming. And I started lifting off. But then I would like, I don't know. I started overthinking about how crazy it was, and then I would just start lowering down slowly. And then I would like focus again, and I'd start feel like I could like swim up in the air. It was crazy.
Man, we're going full circle. And I'm gonna try not to go crazy on it, right? So again, let's flash back to this like county jail that I was in, and there's like this. I was really, really problematic at the time, and I was inside like the segregation unit to where they have to have like mental health checks come on you to make sure you're not going to do nothing crazy or that you're still good. Because again, the living circumstances inside these places were like to federal standards. So I was in disciplinary segregation. I had nothing but like a mattress and a pillow, and that was it. And so they had to come check on you to make sure you weren't going nuts. And this lady was telling me about these dream books, this mental health psychiatrist doctor. And I started reading these books. I was ordering them and having them shipped in. And it teach you about the difference between lucid dreaming. There's 2 types of dreams. I still to this day can't remember the other one. But one's lucid, the other one's called something else. Lucid's where you know you're dreaming, you recognize that you're dreaming, and that you're in control. You can do different things and like dictate the circumstances of the environment. And the other one is where it's like kind of like nightmarish vibes, to where you feel like you're susceptible to the environment and you have no control, and you're just experiencing what's going on. And you have all these physiological responses. Sometimes you wake up out of breath, panicked. You know, it just feels really, really real. Or when you wake up, you're like, wow, that was vivid. He taught me about these, and then so I like started studying these books, and they seem to be pretty real, to where you can do different tips and tricks that you can work on as you're falling asleep to like change your state of dream from these uncontrolled dreams to these lucid dreams, to where you're in control. Or if you're having nightmarish vibe dreams, how you can take over the energy of the dream by like confronting whatever the scary figure is and demanding gifts from it. It's really, really weird, and it seems really elementary, but it literally was like you have to turn around, confront whatever this thing that's scaring you is, demand it to give it a gift to you, and then it'll become subservient to you. And it seems to be like a lot of witchcraft kind of style stuff mixed into it. But I started messing with it while I was in there, and it was kind of panning out.
All right, dude. We got to see if there's any interactivity after that. Is anyone else with us here still, or I don't know, man. I hear you though.
What do you think about for like path to totality and the shape of it? When we see, like, sometimes we'll see still pictures from the globe, and they'll show like recently the 2017, and I think whatever the other most recent eclipse was, and it makes this big kind of X across the United States. But it shows that shadow kind of moving along. It almost seems to be like stationary plots across those lines that intersect. And then, but the shape specifically is what I'm focusing on, the shape of that shadow. is seemingly, for the most part, circular. It is kind of oblong a little bit, but it's not extreme. Isn't it, from a flat Earth perspective, wouldn't that be an indication that the sun is higher in elevation than the moon, and that they're not like at the same elevation?
Yeah, I believe the sun is higher as it changes elevation, as it traverses the plane. I believe it is higher than the moon. Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm leaning towards by thinking about that, because it's like, if we're going to go along the lines of this phenomenon that we're seeing is the actual shadow from this physical object, but then again, that throws a monkey wrench, doesn't it? Right? I'm just freestyling here, guys, just to keep the topic going. Doesn't that throw a monkey wrench in it? Like, doesn't that, instead of saying that the moon is a lunar light source, that's now saying that it's an actual physical object? Or are we just conceding that? Damn, I don't know. What does that infer there? The moon's physical and it's blocking the sun's path and it's creating a shadow, or is this just some optical phenomenon that we see, and the moon is still the lesser light biblically that we know of? Like,
Yeah,
this is
great
really
question.
pushing the boundaries.
I'm sure NASA knows. If they get up high enough, right? And they've been observing it for how many decades now?
But didn't they just do that up recently? They shot rockets up during this most recent eclipse. Three to be specific, I believe. 3 rockets that went up to observe something and to test atmospheric reactions to some type of, I think, like nanoparticulates of metals or something else. But you would think there'd be some type of observable documentation.
Oh yeah, it's probably not for public release yet. Oh, probably classified.
What about, have you heard of like the old, I guess it's not old, it's pretty recent now, this has just popped up. Have you heard of the, I guess the claim that there's no documentation of any type of eclipse from the ISS over the entire existence of it?
Wow, that's a great point. I should actually look for the first documented picture of an eclipse from the ISS.
Yeah, I've heard, again, I haven't done the most studying on it. I hear a lot of things and I try to look into what I can, but from what I've seen and heard, that's a question that's just lingering in the air, and there's no answers for that one. Water's the psyop. I'm not going to type it. I'm just going to say water's a psyop. You're not supposed to drink water. Water is a solvent. Water strips you of everything. It pulls all the minerals and everything out of you. It's like a fucking liquid magnet. It's real bad for you. They say there's like real pure water can dissolve metals. Fuck water. If you want to hydrate, just eat fruits and vegetables, man. Water's all bad. Say no to water. Leave it for the whales.
Could drink.
Doc, can you say that again, dude? You roboted real hard.
You could just drink your own piss.
Are you one of those that do that? There's been a few that have been here over the years. Yeah, they talk about that every once in a while. Do you do that, Doc?
Nope, I'm not one of them.
I think DMOC was on that for a while. I'm not trying to like character assassinate, but I'm pretty sure he said he did that for a while. Said he didn't brush his teeth either for years. I think that was him. Fluoride in water. Just all bad right there. Chemical bomb in your face.
Yep. Can't fuck with sink water for sure. Like every drug known to man is sitting up in that shit.
Yeah, dude, the chlorine's the worst. That's what's fucking everybody up. Everybody's drinking chlorine, and they absorb it within seconds. And then when they take hot ass showers, it turns into a gas again, and you're just like chlorine bombing yourself. World War II in this hoe.
Got that little bit of estrogen chlorine in the morning.
I almost killed some old people at a gym I go to accidentally because I wasn't paying attention because of that. There's a wet sauna in the gym, and the damn employees got the little sign that says every 30 minutes they'll come around and get the humidity right. And I'm like, no, I'm really trying to get this cocaine out of my system fast. So I would just bring my own bottles of water in there and pour it on the little heater and get the sauna going up. And when I would run out of water, I was just dumb and wasn't thinking. It's probably because I had, again, extracurricular activities. But I would just reach out because the saunas were located in the room where the pools were. And I would just dip my bottle in the pool water and then bring it back in. And this is like an old Jewish community gym with like these older people that they're like in their 70s and shit in there in the sauna with me, and I'm pouring chlorine pool water on this hot sauna. Like about a month and a half later, I'm hacking up like white phlegm, damn near dying, thinking what the hell's going on. And I go to the gym and there's this sign that says do not pour water on there, wait for the staff. And I asked somebody about it and they're like, yeah, some dumbass was pouring chlorinated water on the sauna and damn near killing people.
Wow, hell yeah.
I was in a sauna once. Oh, go ahead, Tank.
No, you're good.
Oh, thank you, bro. I was just gonna say I was in a sauna once when an Indian fellow came in and he put eucalyptus oil in there. It was pretty nice. It seems like to open up. It just seemed to maybe even open up the nasal cavity, or just it felt fresh.
Fresh, let that bitch breathe. Open it up, man. That's those plants and herbs. They can do a lot for you. I'm gonna try to get heavy into apothecary before the internet shuts down.
That's one of my side hustles right now. It's so fun. Learning about plants, learning about all the things that have been lost.
Smart.
Yeah, gotta get a good quality book collection that, like a core, maybe like 3 to 5 books that have some good information. Just make sure they're easy to carry.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It'd be like the most valuable thing if you gotta just run because it's like a bomb hits, nuke hits America or something.
Yeah. Need to have the library still. The collection of books of wisdom.
Yeah, I suggest everybody for pretty cheaply, you can go on Amazon or wherever and order a book that's it's always usually titled Edible Plants in, and then whatever state you live in, you insert it there, and it'll show you like all the native edible stuff that you can eat from where you're from. So if you ever get into a pinch, you can kind of identify and know what to look for first.
Yep, that's the exact book I got, bro. That's hilarious.
And then I got another one. I'll put you guys on game. I got this thing called Zoo Theory. This one's for all the real conspiracy heads out there. This is called Zoo Theory. This is Fresh's original. Nobody else thinks this or does this. So, all right, guys, if something happens, okay, and one day you pass out and then you wake up and you go to get your phone and you try to get on Discord and you can't hear nothing and it's not connecting and nothing's updating and everything's buffering. And next thing you know, you realize the whole goddamn system's in gridlock. There's no internet. There's no nothing, right? Now, what you're going to need to do is, if you have a newer vehicle, you're probably fucked because the electronics on that are probably going to be fucking shut down on that too. So it probably won't start. But you need to make your way to the zoo. Go to your local zoo. Get to the closest zoo that you can go to as quick as possible. And here's the reason why. Nobody is going to the zoo when shit hits the fan. And the reason why you want to go to the zoo is because the zoo has everything you need. Not only does it have natural habitats for you to exist in, right? But it has usually an incredible supply of not only frozen but fresh meat, as well as frozen and fresh plants, right? For all the herbivores. It usually has an on-site medical area to where you're going to have access to all sorts of surgical equipment. You're usually going to have tons of antivenoms and antibiotics. Those antivenoms are going to be gold for later on. You stock up on those, stock up on all your medical equipment. You've got an unlimited little food supply. You can slowly take out creatures from their little habitat areas as you're living in the little place. And again, as shit hits the fan, everyone's going to rush to Walmart, Sam's Club, all these crazy places, but nobody's going to head to the zoo. Nobody's going to the fucking zoo, guys. But that's where you want to go. That's Zoo Theory 101.
And low key, you might have a staff there ready to, not just have an extra person join up.
I mean, if anything, it's going to be some fucking hippies that are like want to free the animals.
Yeah, they'll be like
Right.
the zookeeper and someone else who gives a shit about a couple of, something like that.
Exactly. And you'll be like, hey, look, I'm going to let you live so you can take care of Coco, your gorilla, but I'm going to fucking commandeer everything else, guy. And I'm going to protect you, my little boy. And he'll love it. They'll love it.
Like a game where you get a zookeeper upgrade.
Yeah, dude, because he's like it's fucking a local gardener. He's going to maintain your property. And then if shit goes bad, you can eat him too.
Well, There's another book I found called The Big Bad Book of Botany. This shit is crazy.
That sounds nuts. Right.
It's got like a nice little prehistory on botany itself. And then page by page in alphabetical order, it goes over all the known species. And I feel like it's so OP. There's so much shit in here. There's like knowledge in here that's just lost.
A book that's it's always usually titled Edible Plants in, and then whatever state you live in, you insert it there, and it'll show you like all the native edible stuff that you can eat from where you're from. So if you ever get into a pinch, you can kind of identify and know what to look for first.
Yep, that's the exact book I got, bro. That's hilarious.
And then I got another one. I'll put you guys on game. I got this thing called Zoo Theory. This one's for all the real conspiracy heads out there. This is called Zoo Theory. This is fresh as original. Nobody else thinks this or does this. So, all right, guys, if something happens, okay, and one day you pass out and then you wake up and you go to get your phone and you try to get on Discord and you can't hear nothing and it's not connecting and nothing's updating and everything's buffering, and next thing you know, you realize the whole goddamn system's in gridlock. There's no internet, there's no nothing, right? Now, what you're going to need to do is, if you have a newer vehicle, you're probably fucked because the electronics on that are probably going to be fucking shut down on that too. So it probably won't start. But you need to make your way to the zoo. Go to your local zoo. Get to the closest zoo that you can go to as quick as possible. And here's the reason why nobody is going to the zoo when shit hits the fan. And the reason why you want to go to the zoo is because the zoo has everything you need. Not only does it have natural habitats for you to exist in, right? But it has usually an incredible supply of not only frozen but fresh meat, as well as frozen and fresh plants, right? For all the herbivores. It usually has an on-site medical area to where you're going to have access to all sorts of surgical equipment. You're usually going to have tons of antivenoms and antibiotics. Those antivenoms are going to be gold for later on. You stock up on those, stock up on all your medical equipment. You've got an unlimited little food supply. You can slowly take out creatures from their little habitat areas as you're living in the little place. And again, as shit hits the fan, everyone's going to rush to Walmart, Sam's Club, all these crazy places, but nobody's going to head to the zoo. Nobody's going to the fucking zoo, guys. But that's where you want to go. That's Zoo Theory 101.
And low key, you might have a staff there ready to, not just have an extra person join up.
I mean, if anything, is going to be some fucking hippies that are like want to free the animals.
Yeah, they'll be like the
Right.
zookeeper and someone else who gives a shit about a couple of the, stuff like that.
Exactly. And you'll be like, hey, look, I'm going to let you live so you can take care of Coco, your gorilla, but I'm going to fucking commandeer everything else, guy. And I'm going to protect you, my little boy. And he'll love it. They'll love it.
Like a game where you get a zookeeper upgrade.
Yeah, dude, because he's like it's fucking a local gardener. He's going to maintain your property. And then if shit goes bad, you can eat him too.
Well, there's another book I found called The Big Bad Book of Botany. This shit is crazy.
That sounds nuts. Right.
It's got like a nice little prehistory on botany itself. And then page by page in alphabetical order. It goes over all the known species. I feel like it's so OP. There's so much shit in here. There's like knowledge in here that's just lost.
I just posted a link for a rare book for herbal remedies.
Yeah, I see that. Looks dope.
It's a really, really, really good one.
Ooh, it's your Dropbox. I like your style. I can just download that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, who wants it?
Please don't hack me. Downloading now.
Haha, keylogger, sit. Just kidding.
He's gonna steal all my flowers. Damn it. Your files may be deleted. What did you send me, boy?
It's incredible. It's always nice to get a book like this because you can search it. I'm big into aquaponics. I really want to find some like high value herbs to grow.
This is from
Hey Matthew.
2022.
Hey Matthew, do you think anyone will get on that Blue Origin for 150,000?
Didn't some people just do it like last week?
Where's their video?
Last week. You mean a few months ago with that lady that looked like she was having an orgasm and then they pulled it off their website? Oh my gosh! Oh, we're in space!
Yeah. No, but for real, what's the best like independent footage of it? Like that's not, kind of media style. That's like, is there any footage of it's like just someone with a camera? That's not like all kind of media produced?
That's a good question. I don't know if they brought their. I assume some of them took their own cameras, but I haven't watched any of the footage.
It's always the plane window with the camera facing out. It's never the front end of the fucking vehicle or anything interesting. It's just some always goofy, minimal perspective.
I watched a SpaceX launch last night with about 12 or 15 students. It was kind of fun.
You're in Florida?
You mean you watched it from the ground?
Watched it from the ground about 120 miles away from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California.
Space Force Base. Did they call it Space Force now? Or they added, it didn't used to be called that, but they added Space
When
Force.
Donald Trump made the Space Force as a branch of the military, the Air Force gave Vandenberg Air Force Base to the Space Force. So now it's called Vandenberg Space Force Base.
What did you think?
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, bro. I was just going to ask Matthew, what did you think of the takeoff? Was it a slow takeoff? Was it a fast takeoff?
Well, I mean, we're just looking at this red dot go through the sky with a big rocket exhaust out the back, and so, it's moving across the sky about the same as like a plane flying a couple miles away. So, but looks different.
But that's like about as close as you can get to them, right? Like, aren't they pretty kind of centered off to where you're?
Oh no, we were 120 miles away. I think the closest you can get is like 5 miles.
Oh shit! Okay, I thought it was a lot. Maybe that's just for Florida or something.
For Florida, it's like 7 miles, I think.
Damn, I'm way off. Okay.
So if they were pulling off a magic trick, do you think you would have been able to tell or no? In terms of like, the whole kit and caboodle, where they claim that thing is going. Like, I'm just saying, if it's a magic trick and false, would you have been able to tell from what you observed?
So I guess the point of a magic trick is you can't tell the difference, but I have a hard time imagining how anybody could make a magic trick happen that's visible over all of LA County through a wide swath of the sky. I mean, we're looking one direction and then it goes across a big portion of the sky to another direction. So, it's dozens and dozens of miles, maybe even 100 miles or more, the distance we saw it go.
Does it disappear into the horizon, or does it
No, it just
disappear
keeps-
up into the sky?
No, it just keeps going farther and farther to the left because we're watching it go south from that point. So it gets higher and higher and farther to the left until when the rockets shut off, it just sort of disappears. You can't see it anymore.
Have you seen them landing / catching themselves? Have you seen that feat?
So we did see the booster stage head back towards Vandenberg, and so it went across the sky, and then later on we saw the booster coming back down again. But,
did it come from the same direction, or did it come from the opposite direction? Like, did it make what would appear to be a full circle around the globe?
Oh no, the booster just like went up to a certain point in the sky and then turned around and came back and landed at about the same place where it took off. Now we can't see it actually land on the ground because we're too far away, but we could see the landing burn.
So it had to be like.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, guys.
I'm just thinking like the Earth's like is it spinning? Which way is it going? I don't know. When it takes off, is it going against the turn or?
Does that thing shoot straight up in the sky, or what do you
No.
mean by like when it does it? How does that work when it does that?
When they launch from Vandenberg, it's because they want to launch it in a southern direction usually, and so these ones go south along the coast of California down past Baja, California.
Do you go with the spin or against the spin?
It goes south.
Why?
With the spin or against the spin?
The Earth spins east to west, and so south is neither.
Is there a purpose for that?
Yes, some orbits, some satellites and things need to be in certain orbits that go north to south. Yeah, north to south instead of east to west.
Are you just really versed on this stuff, Matthew, or like are you kind of invested in what's they got going on?
It's fairly
Or
common knowledge
are you just really that good at freestyling?
No, it's just common knowledge among people who pay a little bit of attention to space stuff. I mean, I like astronomy, I like space stuff, so I watch these things happen.
Just a little bit.
He's an enthusiast.
Did you watch The Principal, Matthew?
I did, yes.
Awesome.
I
don't want to switch topics, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think they do have a valid point that there is definitely a bias against us being at the center of creation. And I think there's a good chance that we might be at the center of creation. I don't necessarily think God made it that way, but there's a chance. But I think it's also wrong to assume that we're not just based on principle.
Can you elaborate on that last statement that you just made? Like, how would that work out? If that's a really bold claim from you to be as, I guess, steadfast to the Bible as you claim to be, to say that if we were centric, you don't think God made us that way. Like, how do you think that would come about?
No, I said the opposite. So the principle is saying, hey, look at all these scientists are assuming that we're not at the center because they say that there is everything's just random and there's no creator. And I'm saying that assumption that those scientists make is wrong. They may be right, but not for those reasons. So it'd be like Adam and Eve saying, "Oh, the Garden of Eden must be the center of Earth, because here we are. God put us here."
Did the Big Bang happen here at Earth or on Earth?
I call it God's creation, but God created the heavens and the earth, and it's not super clear exactly how He did it, but creating everything from nothing in one point and expanding it may be one way, but who knows?
I don't want to be pedantic. I'm kind of confused. Didn't you said that he? I'll let it pass. You said something about he didn't intend to, but it did. Just a second ago. Just forget.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying that if God made the earth at the center of His creation, He could have done that, but He might not have. I'm okay either way. Who knows what happened?
But at least He watched the
observation.
I'm sorry, you talked over. Say that
My
again?
bad. Go ahead.
The observation is that we are at the center.
Oh yeah, the observation seems to indicate we're at the center. But then, of course, if you're walking through London when it's super foggy, it looks like you're in the center of the universe too, because you can only see the same amount of, you can only see one block each direction. So,
So it's
there's
really
actually-
foggy up there, or
Is that only in London? Or can I experience that here in Kansas City by chance?
No, it doesn't get nearly as foggy in Kansas City. I'm just saying, there are explanations both ways, so I'm not sure you could tell the difference between those two.
Heavy fog can make you feel geocentric.
If you're walking in heavy fog, it looks like you're at the center of the universe because everything is, you can only see 100 feet in each direction. It looks like you're in the center of the part that can be seen.
Like you're in God mode.
Yeah, exactly. I guess the same thing happens underwater. If you're like pretty low and you're scuba diving, you can only see whatever 20 feet.
this is the trick, though, man. This is just one sec though. Like this is so like your reference is to say like in a fog you can't see anything, right? So it looks like you're at the center of the universe, but we can see plenty of stuff there, which is actually the measurements of what we saw. Apparently, is sort of indicative of being at the center. So this fog analogy is once again sort of short-sighted.
The point is that there still is a limit to what we can see, to how far we can see, and that limit is the same in all directions, which means we're either at the center or it's just because there's a limit to what we can see.
Refraction.
So God created us with such a limitation that it only appears like we could be at the center, and that's how He created you.
No, that's just a consequence about how sight works. There's nothing magic about that.
It's like crepuscular rays, how they seem to be divergent from the light source, but then when you get underneath water, they seem to be convergent from the surface of the water. I don't know, it just made me kind of think of that. Like we're kind of in the center of the perspective.
I mean,
Yeah,
he's
Mathew,
postulating. I'll just quickly say one thing. He's postulating, but like, I mean, the postulation basically implies that it's not falsifiable as well. There's no actual way that you could check that. So, almost like a redundant claim at that point. Go ahead, Gio.
Well, I'm not making any claim. I'm just saying that it would look the same whether we're at the center or if we're not.
Based on fog theory. Cool.
What do you mean it would look the same just from your eyeballs? Or something? Because I mean, if you like, you can figure out you're not the center of London once you check it out a little more, and you see that there's other areas.
No, bro, it's
Yeah,
gonna look the same.
Like
So
in that
if
analogy.
if you're in like a basketball, let's say you're in a big room, a warehouse, you can tell if you're at the center of the warehouse or if you're standing near one wall, because one wall will be close and the other wall will be far, right? But if you're walking around in a super foggy day, then no matter where you are, everything, the edge of your vision looks the same distance in all directions.
I think I
That was
prefer
the
the
analogy.
baked raisin analogy
The
inside the
what?
bread.
Oh, yeah,
Baked raisin inside the bread. I kind of get that.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
But I mean,
Of
you'd have
course,
to show
these are
movement.
all guesses anyway.
Do you think that
Yeah,
would
but
be standard?
I mean but the whole idea of separating like geocentric or to making something called geocentric kind of comes out of in a way heliocentrism, because then you have this like non-centric Earth of the globe, which is like a ball which is separate, that even could not be the center in the first place, to then say something's not the center, therefore are we the center, are we not question, because that kind of makes you have to objectify the Earth as a thing that either could be in the center or not in the center of some other larger thing. Whereas what we empirically observe is the Earth is a massive extended plane, and then we have, the sky above us. So I'm just saying, like, making that leap to like, well, that sky above us is actually a huge expanse, and then we're on a ball, and then we're separate. Therefore, are we the center? Are we not of this huge room, that was created? But from a perspective of like just a stationary planar Earth with the sky above, there isn't really a need to set. It's not like Earth is an object within something that would be the center or not. It would more just be, you have what's above us, you have the plane of existence that we're on, and then whatever's below. So I guess we're like the center in terms of above and below, but otherwise, if we're not an object, we're not really like in a room to either be in the center or off center from. Like that takes the globe kind of huge, thing they made of the vacuum to then say we're in the center. Not, do you see what I'm saying? It's like the idea of geocentrism kind of goes paired with heliocentrism in that way.
Yeah, of course. If the Earth is flat, it doesn't make sense to even talk about whether the Earth is at the center of something or not. That's only a question that, globers would have to answer.
Yeah, but I guess you could still debunk that I guess that the sky doesn't represent something that doesn't seem to be centered on the observer. I guess you could like falsify that, perhaps.
I'm guessing we're at the center of the dark matter as well. Gotta be right.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows what dark matter is. It might not even be necessary if they change their cosmology. So I think it's just sort of a placeholder for now.
Dark matter matters.
They can't change the proportional relationship of the quantity, but mass, or is it mass? Yeah, mass has an effect on space, unless you start sort of tinkering, I suppose, with the characteristics of space-time and start turning up some values of the fabric itself.
Right,
Yeah,
if you try to say like dark matter is some type of composition of some form of type of mass. I mean, wouldn't it have to be on some form of measurable scale, recognized somewhere?
Conceptually, it's immeasurable, which is actually kind of interesting, right? At that point, you're messing around with space-time, but you're going to infer that those things up in the sky, the stars, the twinkly things, are the same as the sun. But then you've got to mess around with the fabric of space-time at the edge. But it's exactly like that sun. Gets a bit weird at that point, man. Cake and eat it too territory.
Also, Matthew, if the creator created everything, is there really anything that's not the center of that whole creation in a way? Like, let's say he created a globe and all the balls and all the planets and everything. Like, if it is the totality of everything, isn't it like at every center simultaneously? Like, is there one center? I'm saying, if the whole thing is a creation, with the whole thing is there really?
Well, it seems like if there's a end that you could find a center in there, if it doesn't wrap around on itself. So I just don't know how we would know what the center is.
Is it curious that the FE, flat Earth, if you want to call it that, I suppose, center star, pole star, that's the middle. Apparently, they tell us now that there's 3 stars in the pole star. And we mentioned before as well, South Pole has no pole stars. And was it Polaris? You guys got 3?
Yeah, A, B, and AB.
Yeah, so some stars that we look up and see in the sky are actually 2 stars. If you get a telescope and zoom in, you can see there's 2 really close to each other. And I guess Polaris is one of those like that. But you have to have a pretty powerful telescope to see the companion stars, I think.
Polaris has 3.
Sure.
We just looked at it today, dude. Seafoam was live doing his telescope earlier, and he actually showed he did Sirius, Polaris, and then also another star, which was a double star as well. It was amazing, the double one. But yeah, it should be all in the live stream recording. But
Yeah, I
he
saw part
showed
of that. That's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, he showed a
Gio,
double.
do you
The
recall?
double one was really cool.
Do you recall who mentioned? I just want to attribute it to him. It's kind of cool. That it appears to be like all these double stars are like reflections. It's just like a smaller fractal version of the bigger one.
Yeah,
It's almost as if it's coming through a surface or something, and you're seeing a mirror reflection occurring, like a thick piece of glass. And at each surface, you see like as the light leaves the medium of the glass, you'll see an image on the back and the front surface.
I thought the next thing you were going to say is shout out to the sun in Antarctica, 24-hour sun. No, but,
Yeah, good
I know,
point,
dude.
No.
Yeah, why do they have that like mirrored effect? The 2 stars like that. That is so interesting. Because they look really similar, but they're like slightly different the way fractals are. They just have a very slight difference between them, it seems like.
It got me thinking. Sorry, I just joined the chat and I just had something to say. If that's all right.
Go for it, man.
So, once upon a time, I had an idea was to see if. Okay, so basically, I went on Stellarium. I went to the South Pole. I looked up, and I zoomed in and zoomed in and zoomed in and zoomed in and zoomed in. And I saw the shape of 4 stars that looked like the stars from the ladle of Polaris's Ursa Major, whatever you call it. And I saw 4 stars in the same shape position, and I couldn't believe it. It was such a one. Or I don't know what the right thing to say is, but to see that pattern formation of 4 stars in the formation of. You know what I mean when I say the ladle of Ursa Major? You know, the almost bowl. Or does you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
I'm not
Big
familiar
Dipper.
with it specifically.
Yeah, Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. Yeah, there's like the handle and the ladle parts. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So the actual ladle, the actual shape of the ladle, the 4 dots were in the same shape as I looked through the South Pole, if that makes sense. So at the South Pole coordinates, look up and zoom in on Stellarium, and that's what I saw. So when you guys were talking about reflections and stuff like that, it was like, I don't know, I just thought you guys might need to know that. But yes, I think there's a, sorry. You're talking about double stars and stuff like that. I think, sorry.
Mathew's really good to sort of point out all of these sort of curious arrangements of phenomenon and jumping between different ones. So double stars that happen to look like each other. I don't even think they necessarily have to be what do they call it? Like a twin solar system or something, or whatever. They may be just a star behind a star.
Yeah, I see. Like if I'm in the north, I'm in London. Like you've got the Southern Cross in the south, but in the north, looking from London south, there is a tiny little cross in the sky, and it's almost like I don't know. I sort of hope I'm roughly talking about what you guys were talking about. I think that we see things from 2 different angles, but we might be looking at the same thing, and one being a reflection and the other one not. But that's what I'm saying. Is like if there's a big cross as such in the south, and there's a tiny one if you look from the north. You know, can we start to see comparisons between the north and the south? You know.
Oh, you mean
What's
the
hard?
like reflected sky theory?
Was that sky theory? Sorry.
Reflected sky theory. I don't know. I'm just calling it that. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
essentially, the
yeah.
southern hemisphere is somehow an inversion reflection, and like a couple
And
of stars are turned up, and some of the other ones are turned down.
yeah, and I think maybe in my case, I'm kind of thinking you've you're not necessarily seeing a reflection. You kind of are, but it would be at an angle. So if you're looking at a 3D object, I think maybe a comparison is like looking at the number 3. But if you look at the number 3 and it's a wide 3 or a deep 3, you know, like a 3D 3, if you look at it from a different angle, it will no longer look like a 3. But you might be able to get sort of yeah.
Like a W.
Uh, yeah, it's kind of like looking at something from a. I'm kind of thinking we probably don't see anything obvious between the north and the south because we're looking at it from a different angle. So, like in the north, we'll be looking straight up and we see everything in 3D in space. You know, it's like looking at a jar of jam full of air bubbles, type of thing, idea from one angle. But if you look at it from another angle, you won't see the same air bubbles in the same formation, but yet you see the same air bubbles. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think weather is the main factor for that phenomenon?
I think it's just there. It's a bit like an exploded light bulb inside. Just everything just goes, and that's it. But whatever is up there, if it's a wax or if it's a something or if it's a something, or it's just something else that causes everything just to stay where it is.
I like the something part.